Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of Retail Resilient. We teach car dealers all over the country how to sell more cars and make more money using social media platforms. Like I said, who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Check us out at retailresilient.com or send us a message in the chat bar on the Auto Hub Show.
Hi, it's Barry here with White Glove Performance Group. Thanks for joining the show this morning. Always great content on here, and a big shout out to Ian and Jeff for all the hard work that they put into this show. Just wanted to say really proud of being a sponsor of this show. White Glove Performance Group, what do? We have a cloud-based styling technology called Touchpoint. Touchpoint is used in dealerships all across North America. And the main reason for its popularity is because dealerships can now amp up their team to be calling 50 people an hour. They can leave a personalized voicemail, a custom email, as follow-up, all with a click of a mouse. This really speeds up some of the jobs that happen in the dealership, such as cleaning up your recalls, cleaning up lost souls in service, running a private sale, trying to reach out to your database to buy inventory. Obviously, we know that's the way to source it in today's environment. whitegloveperformancegroup.com. My direct is 587-899-6600. Love to have a chat with you about some of the things that we can do. But outside of that, I'm going to turn it back over to the host of the show, and hope everybody enjoys it.
Everyone, I'm John Latka from Automotive Business Solutions, where we help dealerships build more productive and proactive by-appointment sales cultures through our Performance Management Partnership Program. So, if you want to increase your sales volume by 2 to 3 sales per month per salesperson, call our toll-free number, 877-708-8484 for a free consultation.
Very much. So we have a few books to recommend. The Changing World Order, which is a new book by Ray Dalio. I just picked up. It just dropped. So if you're curious about what the next couple of years are going to bring with interest rates and stock market and changing economies around the world, great book. Highly recommend. Warren Buffett's book, 43 Lessons for Business and Life. And then one from one of our guests today, Inner Moron Demons, from Larry Feldman. He's on the show today, so he can speak to that a little bit. So go ahead, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We felt that the Warren Buffett viewpoints were worth a little bit extra time on the video, so thank you for your patience, and hopefully you all picked up stuff. But the disclaimer, of course, is the fact that the views and opinions expressed here on the Auto Hub Show are those of our guests and not necessarily of the show or Ian Nethercott or myself. And whatever happens, happens.
Thanks very much. So today's show is the Automotive Investment Show, so we're going to get right into it. Let me move one over here. So I'm going to move this over here.
So on our guest today, we have a very, very interesting selection of guests, and from all levels of investment in the industry. And of course, we'll be asking them that. We do have some feedback from somebody there. But first of all, we have joining us John Kostakos, who's the president of Spartan Sales in Toronto, Ontario. And John is, for those of you that know him, is probably the second most tenacious person I've ever met. The first tenacious one is staring at me at our screen, putting his head back and forth, Ian. But John, say hello to everybody. Tell us a little bit about your expertise in this topic.
Good morning. My name's John Kostakis. I'm a seminar promoter in the automotive industry. I have been for 26 years. So all I do is travel North America to different cities and promote the biggest names in the training game, the motivation game in the automotive industry for live event seminars. Our company's represented some of the biggest names in the car business. Jackie B. Cooper, launched that guy's career. Grant Cardone launched that guy's career. Dwayne Marino up here in Canada, known that guy for 25 years. Damien Boudreau in the US, who's the mentor to Ali Reda. A lot of people know that guy. He's #1 salesman in the world. And that seminar that Ali attended 10 years ago was responsible for that accomplishment because we've coached him to this day. So that's basically that's what I do.
Perfect. I just want to know why you don't have a plane if you launched Grant Cardone. I need to know that.
That was before. Very interesting because he really, when the internet came around maybe 10 years ago, that's when he skyrocketed. But no one knows what really went in. What really went into that development is we put him on his first stage back, man, and when he was like 27 years old. And for 19 years, not like 19 months or 19 days, but for 19 years, a group of 25 promoters went around North America and broke ground for that guy. Like, I mean, we set the stage for that platform, and then he is responsible. Like he started his real estate back in 1995, but our company, when there was no internet, we were the human internet. So we would go across the country and build that name. So we built that name, and then the rest is up to him, and he's done pretty tremendous. So, but we
I would say.
a big part in that.
Thank you very much, John. Now, next we have Larry Feldman, new to the show. Thanks for joining us, Larry, who's the president of Career Changers USA in Richboro, Pennsylvania, which, frankly, what I know about Pennsylvania, it's either near Philadelphia or near Pittsburgh. So, and of course, an author. So, Larry, please introduce yourself to the Auto Hub Show audience.
Most certainly, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I am a former dealer and car salesperson. When we sold our store, I got involved with training and recruiting, and I've had my company Career Changers for 10 years. We basically try to make people better. They need it, we need it, the world needs it at this point. We also evolved into not only finding salespeople, but finding service personnel, including those incredibly hard to find technicians and body shop people. You mentioned my book. During the pandemic, I decided to write a book, and I scrambled around with about 100 titles, Drive Your Life, a bunch of things. And at one point, I was talking about people that don't even try to try. And I say these people have to be imprisoned by inner moron demons. Hence the title of the book, which is Inner Moron Demons, How to Avoid Them and How to Live Your Best Life. So basically, I'm traveling around much of the United States. Again, we try to motivate people. I think you guys, from what I can see of all of you, would appreciate the fact that my classes have very little to do with cars and more to do with looking yourself in the mirror, quote Socrates, an unexamined life is one not worth living, and just trying to make people understand that it's their life. They're only going to be here once, and to try to make the best of it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It's a great attitude. Thank you. Next, we have our good friend Fareed Ahmad, who's the founder and CEO of Dealer Solutions Mergers and Acquisitions, president of Right Fit Plus, and a few other things, from Markham, Ontario, which is basically Toronto. And Fareed, say hello to everybody and give us a brief introduction, please.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, thank you very much for Ian and Paula for inviting me onto your platform. It's always great to see you guys, and it's really nice to make acquaintance with everybody else that's on this platform. Yes, I own a company called Dealer Solutions, Mergers and Acquisitions. We have now in our company 42 people spread across the entire state of the United States and Canada. We sell about 70 dealerships a year, and we've been doing it for the past 11 years. And I also come from the retail automotive business. I used to be the general manager, car salesperson in both England, Chicago, and obviously Toronto. And thank you again for inviting me on this show.
So that explains the accent, because it's not English, it's not Midwestern US.
Started my life in the UK, moved to Canada in 1991.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We do appreciate all your input. Next, we have John Latka of the Dulcet Tones of the Automotive Business Solutions and the Power Past the Positivity podcast. Sorry, I'll clean my camera now. And from Halifax, Nova Scotia, John, certainly well known to our audience and us. John, say hello and share your thoughts on dealership investment.
Well, thanks for having me on the show again. It feels like I'm a bit of a regular and happy to be here. In terms of my background, it is in automotive. We have a boutique agency that's going into its 22nd year of business. We offer consulting, workshops, seminars, and performance-specific software. And as you mentioned, I also host Power Past the Competition, the podcast, and it's available on all major platforms. And for more information about me and Automotive Business Solutions, you're welcome to please go to automotivebusinesssolutions.com.
Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least is the founder of NABThat, the website Solutions for Great Dealerships, Jason Silberberg, joining us from, I know Jason's out of LA, but I'm not sure where Jason is right now because we're in a virtual world. Jason, please say hi and introduce yourself.
You're muted, Jason. There you go.
Yeah, I'm muted. Thank you guys for having me again. Really appreciate to be part of the show and the community. My background is 20 years in technology and building platforms for mobile telecommunication companies, and I got into automotive. I have a background in automotive, but got in about 8 years ago, and right now we're building probably the most sophisticated website platform out there for the industry. And so looking forward to the answer and to the conversation today, and hopefully being able to bring in some input to help everybody out.
Thank you very much. Ian, take it away.
Good morning and welcome. Hopefully I fixed my feedback issue. I'm going to start with the questions for all guests. It is streaming, so it's always interesting. So you each have a unique viewpoint of what's going on in the business today. In your opinion, what does investing look like for 2022 in the automotive industry? And since Jason was speaking last, maybe we can start with Jason. What do you think on investing as a dealer in 2022 in the automotive industry?
Well, I think, always you want to invest internally, right? People, process, is probably number one. But I think, as we start rolling into 2022, I think the industry is going to have a big piece in how dealerships reinvent themselves and how they invest internally and externally, right? So pre-pandemic, everything was pretty much the usual, right? We factories built cars and dealerships received them and were able to sell them. But here we are today, and we have a used car market that is around 30%, an all-time high, and we have new cars that are really hard to acquire and are being the number of days of inventory that is out there is lower and lower. And the manufacturers have a lot of control on how dealerships are going to invest in their business. And I think really the question here is, what are manufacturers going to do over the next year, 2 years, and looking at their production facilities and how they output vehicles. We're already hearing rumors of some large OEMs looking at only having a 60-day inventory on the ground, and that will be the limit. And going toward a more of a ordering type of mechanism for consumers of vehicles. So how far they take that, I don't know, right? Because the industry as a whole has to follow that lead, and if they don't, then the whole thing will kind of crumble. But I'm always a big believer in investing internally, right? People and process. I think that's always going to be your biggest return on investment.
Thanks, Jason. And just so you know, I'm going to be sharing some polls for the end of the year that I've been doing over the last 2 weeks. And one of the questions was about OEMs, and specifically OEMs and retail. But if anyone wants a copy of that document, feel free to send me an email or just reach out to me on the Auto Hub Show website. So go ahead. Let's go with Fareed on investment.
Well, there's two two areas of investment in the retail automotive industry that's going to be the focus for the next 5 years. Number one is consolidation. So I'm going to talk about the external and then the internal. On the external side, on the consolidation, it is full steam ahead. I think you're going to see, we heard about Lithia buying the FAF group. You're going to hear in the next 5 years a lot more of larger transactions such as that. You may have heard that Auto Canada just bought AutoPoint as well. So we feel that there's going to be a continuous trend for acquisition. Internally, though, I think where the investment is going to have to be, it's going to have to focus on most probably two unknown factors. One, what is the EV factor going to have on the retail car business? i.e., are we going to see more and more EV retailers breaking into North America? I don't know if you read Automotive News today, another Chinese manufacturer has just announced they've got two retail points now in Canada. EV is going to be dominant. And the second issue is the agency model. There's a lot of talk that the manufacturers may start looking more seriously, as they've done in Australia and Europe, about the agency model for a dealer network. That's going to have a huge impact because that's going to require a huge investment from a dealer. And you may find that it's going to require a lot more into technology as well. So I think there's two levels of investment. Still think it's a great opportunity. The returns are astronomical for dealers, but it's going to be some challenging times around EV and agency models.
Thanks, Fareed. John, obviously on the training front, we hear a lot about people, process, and training. We hear also a lot about that we need to get better at using the people we have at dealerships and create a better experience. What do you see out there as you're the money on the street talking to dealers about training?
So as we watch both Johns kind of look, go, which John?
Exactly.
Mr. Kostakos. Let's go, Kostakos.
John K.
Okay, good. Well, what I see is I'm an advocate for the salesperson. So my seminars are for salespeople. And, it's the greatest thing is what I've noticed is that with the inventory shortage, it's fantastic because there's no negotiating anymore. So now the customer comes in. So now it's all about the experience you create, how you serve the customer. And if the salesperson, what I think what's going to happen is if the salesperson is not in the relationship business, and we've always advocated relationships for the last 20 years, that if you're not in the relationship game, if it's just order taking, why would a dealer want to pay someone $1,000 or $1,500 a car if it's just to take an order? They can just find someone and pay the minimum wage, have a closer, and they do it. So this is why for the salesperson, they have to be in the relationship business going forward because they have to be very valuable to their customers. So when your customer's thinking about a car, they're not going to go to the website. They're going to call you, the salesperson. You have to be their friend in the car business. If you're not their friend in the car business, there are forces out there that are trying to put salespeople out of business and make it more just transactional. So this is very, very, very pivotal time for the business that way.
John, I have to admit, I agree with you completely because anybody who's gone into the big manufacturer and everybody's tongue right now to buy a car, they're basically getting some nice young person smiling and everything else, and there is no relationship because that person doesn't matter. So I agree with you completely.
Yeah. So what the hell? So So it's very interesting. You got to get in the game. Relationship.
So thanks very much, John. Larry, what do you think? What's your opinion?
Well, there's a classic old story of two shoe salesmen that are sent to a remote part of a country that's not developed. And one guy writes back and says, "Why the hell would you send me here? Nobody's wearing shoes." The other guy says, "Man, am I glad you sent me here. Nobody's wearing shoes. What a giant captive audience we have." Every damn thing is an opportunity. people that don't sense they're an opportunity and don't throw in a little attitude of gratitude are in trouble. Here's what everybody needs to invest in. If you don't mind me speaking to this august group of gentlemen, have some mirrors. How about if we start looking in the mirror as dealers and as salespeople and understand that this stuff always rolls from the top down? Because, I've had a chance to discuss politically some things with Ian. I won't go too far forward, but we're obviously in an era when what you say and what actually happens has no correlation in reality. So if the managers are going to buy in and set a strategy that moves people forward and ties them in, you're there. As far as the salespeople, again, even older idea, it's your business. You're running your business within someone else's business with no debt service. I mean, I get guys who I hire, I want to own my own business. Why? Let these guys own the business. Let them pay the light bill and you just make all the money. You've got a partner that just wants to share the profits. So I think more than ever, by the way, everybody that spoke for Reed, John, I agree with you completely that the relationships have died. I was so thrilled to be invited on this show and to speak to Ian because when I called him, he answered. And when he called me back, he got me. That shouldn't be a rare thing, but nobody understands how to answer a phone. Nobody understands how to build a conversation. And without that, forget about your business, your life skills erode and things fall apart. So anytime you have a major shakeup, and this is definitely a major shakeup, coming off a pandemic and all of a sudden having people kill people over cars. Hey, when you're selling retail, make as much as you can. But, it's mathematics. What you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other. I remember guys used to put people in 96-month financing and they get high-fived. Yeah, you killed them. Well, you killed yourself because when the guy comes back in 3 years, you can't go anywhere with him. So it's not complicated. At a time like this where the money is just flowing in, guys, they're looking for places to hide the money. It's so much. Understand that, again, quote my father, nothing good or bad lasts forever. So rather than just say, yeah, this is great for the next 100 years, we'll last 10,000 over list. How about if we say, let's act, again, I keep quoting my damn book. You can tell I'm a car salesperson. My brother told me a long time ago, you want to stay rich, act like you're broke. You want to go broke, act like you're rich. It was kind of what the Wizard of Omaha was talking about with don't be complacent. So it's really simple. Salespeople have to relearn value selling because it's not always going to be, hey, that's the car. It's 10,000 over list. If you don't want it, the lady in the red hat will take it. And dealers and managers have to invest in the fact that this isn't always going to be the case. All these good things have a yin and a yang, and as much money as we're all making, there is going to be a little bit of a negative when these values drop. You're going to have a sideways impact that the housing market blew up. You bought your house for $200,000. They appraised it at $4 million. You got a balloon mortgage, and you were living large till they threw you out of your house.
Exactly.
It's a very good point, actually, that you're saying that, Larry, because I recently talked to two different salespeople for the same
Hold on.
manufacturer.
Would you mind telling my wife that I made a good point? I'm not sure she'll believe you either. But.
Oh, he's awesome. Nevertheless, as I was talking to two salespeople of the same brand, a big import brand, and I was talking to them about the inventory, how they don't have inventory and they have no used cars because the management of the company doesn't want to buy used cars. And besides, the manufacturer's extending leases. So why should they bother? And one guy said, well, I'm on the phone calling people privately and getting them to bring their cars in. And I'm putting my customers into new cars or used cars and setting them up on their factory order and their new one. And the other one says, yeah, I'm not going to bother. So the other guy's keeping a relationship with his customer. Mr. I'm not going to bother is just writing orders. And in the end, who's going to succeed? Because Mr. Order ain't making money.
Jeff, there's nobody on this panel that's 18. Everybody's same basic age as me, give or take a little. I remember when special finance became a thing, and a lot of guys thought it was beneath their dignity to get involved with special finance. So if you can't look past your nose to see the rest of the world, you're in trouble.
By the way, I do believe that you and I are secretly 12.
Well, I was talking to a Toyota dealer on Friday last week, and they said, well, we don't even want more customers. Toyota isn't going to give us any more cars. We already got more orders than we can handle. We don't have any used cars. Customers they won't give us any more cars. I said, so
Ian,
if you're
is
listing all the problems in the universe, how are you going to fix those problems?
Ian, I'm going to shut up after this comment. It's just you're getting what's left of my brain to work. The mark of a good salesperson, and everybody on this panel I know will agree with me, is the guy, when a customer gets on the lot, he doesn't say, yeah, why don't you take them? I already sold one. He can't wait to get the deal after the deal and the next deal. I teach my salespeople it's all about the deal after the deal. Because if you do it right, you're already setting up the next deal. We all want to have an inside guy, our favorite pizza place, somebody that we like, that we feel we can trust. Because we're not the only guys out there that understand that relationships are dying. Everybody wants to feel some kind of communication.
John Latka. Thanks very much, Larry.
Well, basically everything's been said. I'm just going to add my 2 cents worth. And basically what I look at is it's got to be about employee development. I'm talking about training in all departments, not just sales, in all departments, everyone, and including HR and leadership training for managers. That's my 2 cents worth.
Well, as I said, I was doing some polls as we ended the year, and I did one on bosses and I did one on human resources. I'll share them at the end of the show, but essentially what surprised me was the engagement and the amount of views on the bosses one, rating how many good and bad bosses in someone's life. But the one that I just put out, which isn't complete yet, was rating HR people good and bad. And the numbers were staggering. I even had an HR person reach out to me from Europe and say, I fell off my chair when I saw your poll, and I was afraid to vote because I was afraid my boss would get a big head. So it's kind of interesting. But if you want that poll, send me an email. I will be putting it up at the end of the show. There's a bunch of polls. Jeff.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I saw that result on the bosses, and I didn't think that you knew that many people. Moving right along. And, of course, you expected the title of our show, which says, what should they invest in? But I'm going to ask you guys, what would you say is the place they should not invest in 2022? And we'll start with the king of investment so far is Fareed.
Wow, that's an interesting question. What they should not invest in. I don't think dealers of the future should invest in building Taj Mahals anymore. I think with the turn of the inventory process, this COVID taught the manufacturers some really good lessons, and I think they're going to implement those lessons. So I think that any dealer or dealer wannabe should push back with their manufacturer if they want them to build a Taj Mahal. I think with the turn of inventory, I think somebody mentioned it earlier that they're looking at a 60-day turn. I think that's here to stay for at least the next 5 years. So don't invest in large footprints and build a Taj Mahal for the benefit of the manufacturer. That's what I would not invest in.
Good point. There was just a Toyota dealer here in Western Canada just opened up a 300,000 square foot dealership in a mall in an old Sears store. So that should be very interesting. I don't know what you can put in there when you're not getting inventory.
That's right. That's right. Furniture.
You can put a furniture store in there. Considering the manufacturers do want you to buy the furniture they want you to buy too.
That's right.
Mr. Kostakos, what should they not invest in your opinion?
I agree with the facility part. That's about it. That's all I know on that one. I'm not, that's it. Done.
So not uniforms or name tags or...
No, I have no clue. No, nothing. No, I like the idea about the big building. What do I know?
Thank you very much. Jason, what do you think about this?
You're muted, Jason.
I'm gonna have to repeat what Fareed said, and I mean it's all about buildings and dumping money into these huge facilities. I think you're going to be looking at the Europe type of model that we've had out there and for 15, 20 years now. Tesla's done a great job with having just mall shops and having their vehicles there. So I look at a dealership is going to be changing over the next 10 years. So what we think of a large facility is probably going to be a very, very small shop. Maybe to throw something else out there is probably, dealerships should stop trying to digitize the physical space that they have from a consumer experience point of view. Right? Too many times I see, dealers inside of their store with a bunch of tablets telling the consumer, you can start your deal here. And it's like, well, they're here. They want a physical relationship. They want to talk to somebody. If they wanted to go on a tablet, they could have done that at home. Why are you trying to push them into a tablet while they're in your store? It does not make any common sense to me. So that would be my other one.
Thank you. Actually, it was very funny. I was lucky enough to be in Europe about a month ago, and thank God I was there then and not now. And I found dealerships that they were Taj Mahals there. I remember seeing one in a small town that was a Renault Alpine Nissan store, and it wasn't as big as the 300,000 square foot store, and I was shocked at the pure size of it. And but then you go through a small town and you see a little sign up there that says whatever brand it is, so we don't see that. Mr. Latka, what's your opinion on this?
Well, listen, I'm going to stick with the facility that everyone's talking about, and I certainly liked Jason's point of not trying to be digital when people are in the showroom. It just makes perfect sense. And I think when it comes to facilities, I mean, there are huge facilities going up still and will continue, I believe, for the next few years until people really get their heads around the fact that, you know what, it may not be necessary.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I do have to say, having been through it, if you're starting to build a dealership now, you've been in process for probably 3 to 5 years, and you've probably committed yourself too far to say, no, I can't do it. But hopefully they don't regret it. And Larry, because I know you got an opinion on this. What's your opinion?
I do have an opinion. First of all, what Fareed said, 100% correct. What Jason said, I loved also, because when I got into the business, the lazy, unsuccessful salespeople hadn't answered everything. Let me pull out my inventory sheet. They had it folded up in their back pocket. Let's not go on the lot, so maybe you'll see something that'll intrigue you or turn you on. Let me read off it. Now it's gone to the tablet. Yeah, the dumbest thing that you could ever possibly imagine. I would spend less on new car advertising. There are certain states in the United States that do not allow a bird dog or a referral check. Ohio's one, Virginia's one. Is that in Canada, are you allowed to, if someone sends you in someone, are you allowed to send a referral check, gentlemen?
Yes. It depends on the province.
Depends on where.
Okay, so here's my thing. I believe, and I happen to be right in this one instance, that the only way to really get rich in the car business, and maybe other businesses, is prospecting. Because now you're not bringing in a stranger with 9 different dealers on the list and you're number 3. You're controlling your schedule. You inevitably control your income. I can tell you stories, if you want to laugh. Guys would bring in a guy for a bird dog and they would sell harder than I would because they wanted the $100. I think we need to push people, again, to run it like it's their business. Now, the nice thing about that, gentlemen, it ties all your points were great. It ties all our points together, because if you put somebody in a position where, hey, I'll incentivize you. Anybody you bring in, I'll give you an extra this or that. Remember, you're not paying them till after it happens. Is there any advertising better than advertising that you don't pay until after it's successful? So you're now pushing people to promote their business, which also forces them to stay involved with the customers. Again, I'm talking to car guys. How much does it suck when a salesperson gets in a fight with another salesperson? That's my customer. What do you mean? Well, I sold him 3 years ago. When was the last time you talked to him? 3 years ago. Wrong answer. Exactly. So I think a little less money on new car advertising and a little more tie-in with, hey guys, here's an extra 25, here's an extra 50. If you can document that you're bringing someone and put a separate board up, I mean, doesn't that make more sense? If you're paying $400 a car to advertise for new cars and you can pay 25 or 50, because one thing we found is people have become Detective Columbo all on their own. Today, they're more sophisticated than the people we have running our inventory. They know who's got what, where it is, when it is, and how it is. And as far as someone mentioned human resources, I truly believe the one thing human resources doesn't really care about is humans, but they're really good with it.
I guess are we gonna have to go to AIR someday soon?
Well, it was funny. There was a post I saw over the weekend. They were saying, well, we have ATS to screen the resumes so I don't have to look at them all. And we have AI to eliminate the bias in hiring. And I said, so what do we have as in terms of people? They said, what do you mean? Well, what do we need human resources? We got all this software that does it better than you guys do.
And how insane is it that whole process, now understand, I started my business in 2012 as a recruiter, strictly a recruiter.
Yeah.
And I got heavily into the training but think about it. Again, I'm talking to car guys. I've seen guys come in and they were handsome, or the woman was beautiful and they were smart and funny and articulate. And a month later they quit. And I know guys that weren't that handsome, smelled a little funny, were a little boring, but every day they showed up, put their heart and soul into it, needed to make a living, right? We can't forget about hunger. So to now have people judge, and as some of these HR people, no disrespect, they've never sold a car or turned a wrench, and they're determining who's good to sell a car or turn a wrench. That's really scary.
Well, there was a post today. It was from a retail location somewhere. It says, listen, anyone who shows up, we're going to hire them. If you got a heartbeat, you could cook a hamburger. We're going to hire you right now. Like,
listen,
when can you
guys,
start? Forget the resume. When can you start, man?
Most of the answers you're contemplating can be found in my book, Inner Moron Demons. I suggest you buy as many copies as possible. It makes it
on Amazon.
Christmas or Hanukkah gift. That's like, let's talk to that dealership that has 300 square feet. You said, what the hell can they put on the cars? Nice book display. I can probably come up.
There you go. There you go, Larry. Good idea.
Hey, if you don't ask for the business, you'll never get it.
Yeah. Hallelujah, brother.
That's right.
Hallelujah.
So I got a question. 2020-19 was pandemic. I mean, the Omicron, Betacron, Decepticon seems to be the latest thing, but whatever. 2021 is the chip shortage. In 2022, what should dealers be prepared for and invest in to be ready, in your opinion? I mean, they're all stacking up money in the back or to talk about, maybe behind the walls, I don't know.
Hey,
but what should they invest in to be
boat.
ready in 2022? And let's start with Fareed.
I think on the sales side, dealers need to be prepared to invest in retaining their best talent that right now may not be making as much money because they can't deliver vehicles. And dealers are very short-term thinkers, and they look at their balance sheet. But think about all the years they've invested in, all the training they've invested in their salespeople. It's most probably going to be an expensive investment, but I think it's quite a necessary investment. Retain talent, because I think Larry can tell you, it's rare. Talent is rare out there. So that would be my number one piece of advice, Ian.
Thanks. Jason? You're still muted.
Here I go with the unmuting. I think dealers need to, for 2022, I think they need to get ready for inventory allocation, right? I think they really need to be ready for manufacturers allocating the amount of inventory they're going to have and how much they're going to have on the ground. And I look back at it, and it's probably not going to help the values of vehicles for new vehicles coming down. But I kind of look at that analogy of Rolex. Rolex wanted to kill the gray market back in 2019, pre-pandemic, right? In January of 2019, they wanted to kill the gray market. And so what they did is they went to all of their Rolex dealers and they told you, hey, this is going to be your allocation for the year. You're going to get 2 Submariners, you're going to get 4 of these, you're going to get 2 Daytonas, and that is it. Once you sell them, you're not getting any more. You can't order anymore. They used to be able to just order a watch and come in 2 weeks and they were happy. No, they started allocation. What happened? Prices went up 30, 40%. Pandemic hit. They even skyrocketed above that. And I really do think manufacturers are going to start a kind of allocation type of model around new vehicles, dealerships. We talked about it before, lower time on ground, 60 days, you might only get, 20 Accords, you might get 100 of these, whatever it might be. But I think you're going to start looking at this kind of allocation model coming down the line.
And they're also talking today, I saw in automotive news, they're talking about raising prices on all new cars just because they think they can. So that was really interesting. The MSRP prices, they're going to say, hey, yeah, we'll just make more. We'll make more money on each one selling them to the dealer.
I think another opportunity out there, guys, really quickly, sorry to interrupt, is this might be a good time to also look at getting rid of the antiquated commission basis and the pay scale and actually move to a position where people are paid to do a professional job and they're being held to do a job. And I'm not saying there isn't incentives and different things like that, but actually get rid of some of that old antiquated commission basis where I'm not going to sell the car because I'm only making $100 and all that stuff that goes with it in some of those locations. Because it's lining up for the dealership to have the power to actually do that now and actually pay professionals to be professionals.
I understand. Larry?
Well, if I can jump away from the sales end, I would certainly work on fixed operations. One of the things when people saw that maybe they couldn't get the car they want, they started worrying about keeping their car straighter. And unless business has really changed, service penetration has always been a key, right? We always admired the dealers that had 109% penetration in the back and every single dollar up front, went to their bottom line. With sales, I think you all have, again, great valid points. Let's make these people understand that we're starting from day one and we absolutely positively have to set this up so we can continue to roll. Barry, as far as what you said, I think a lot of that comes down to, and again, I've been on both ends of it. I was a salesman, I was an owner, I'm all over the country. So, and I basically am I know it's hard for you guys to believe this, but I'm a little mentally unstable. So my classes tend to relate to me. And the amount of people I hear when I train advanced, not beginners, is the disconnect between management and sales. I try to teach, and Barry, I'm with you 100%, that deal, the guy you want to take out in the back of the dealership and kill with your bare hands because he's such a torturer, that seems like a bad pain in the neck thing until that deal made you hit your 20th deal and you got all your bonus things. So I think that's more a matter of, before I ever thought of becoming a professional trainer, I would get sent to Bill Verdi, Grant Cardone, and when we come back, the manager's thing would be, quote, yeah, enough with that bull. Let's get back to doing what we do. So I think it's the same kind of buy-in. If you can explain to a guy, if you can pull the guy in and say, listen, this guy's a torturer. Don't let him ruin your whole day. Make whenever you can make, okay? All it's going to do is help you get to your bonuses. I think it's just simple communication. But I think this is a great time to work on fixed ops. It's a great time to work. Fareed, you were so right with trying to keep talent because it's just not that easy to replace it. And isn't it funny? Again, I'm showing my age. When I got into the car business, here's why people got in. Are you ready? Money. Didn't have any. You didn't want to be buddy with your boss. As a matter of fact, if your boss knew your name, you thought you were in trouble. Now there's about 1.5 million reasons why people like their job. They feel comfortable. Okay, so we're in Rome. Let's do as the Romans, and let's make this as welcoming and comfortable an environment as possible. It just makes sense for everybody.
It's an interesting point.
People are motivated different ways. That's the interesting thing. I mean, we had a dealer on the show, and he said the older salesmen want to be on straight commission, but the younger guys, they're happier to have a base salary that's significantly lower. That's just the way they operate. So I think the thing when you're managing different generations is you got to ask the question, what motivates that person? Is that motivation money or is that motivation other things? And I think there's a lot of smokescreen out there about inclusion and whatever the latest thing is lately. But what's actually motivating people to want to work for you and want to stay? I mean, we had a salesman on the show. He worked for a Mazda store, and all he wanted was a Mazda Miata demo to stay at the job. And they were like, no, we're not giving you that car. You're going to have to pay for it. He's like, okay, I'm out of here. And he's kind of embarrassed looking back talking about it, but what motivates people is different. Mr. Kostakos.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think bad habits are formed in good times. So a lot of people get lazy now. They're making money. So I think it's always about self-development. You always have to work on your game because the greatest investment you can make is in yourself. And a lot of these new guys that start in the car business, for a lot of them, yeah, it is a job, a job. Everybody knows what that stands for, like just over broke. But when they start hearing, right? But when they, but what I do is I love, because I believe there's people out there that have so much potential. And so when they self-develop and come to a seminar and hear a story about someone that's selling 60 cars and 70 cars and 80 cars and 100 cars and 140 cars, well, they didn't know what was possible. So that's why investing in yourself and going to seminars and working on your game is really critical continuously. Good times, bad times, it doesn't matter. So that's it. That's my 2 cents.
There's a famous
Absolutely.
quote: investing in yourself pays the best interest. I agree with that 100%. Mr. Latka.
Well, I'm in agreement with everything that's been said, and I'd like to just bring up Fareed's point about retaining good people. What's really interesting is the last couple of months in October and November, we've been putting on HR workshops for managers. We've had dealer principals, general managers, sales managers attend. And the reason that we're doing it is so that they get insight into the complete HR process, not just recruiting, not just retention, because there's a number of things in between that are extremely important. And you may be able to recruit someone, but you're not going to retain them if you don't fix what you're not doing right in the middle. And it's just amazing how interesting it was, the feedback that we've had from dealer principals, general managers, and sales managers saying, oh my God, this is eye-opening. So I really feel that focusing on developing your managers, giving them knowledge, the inside track on HR, and then some more training in terms of leadership so that we have more leaders and less bosses in the industry.
Understand. I agree with that 100%. We've had HR shows. How many, Jeff? 4 to 6? Some of the worst attended shows ever because no one seems to care. But, obviously, if you could teach us anything there for future shows, John, let us know because we 100% agree. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, we all talk about that. We talk about HR, got to retain people, got to take care of people, stop the revolving door. And like you said, Ian, the worst attended shows and the worst viewed, the worst listened to shows we've had have all been HR based. So, John, by the way, I got an idea for your HR thing. And if you use it and it's successful, I want money.
No problem.
So in the interest of time, we have 2 more questions that I want to tie in together. And of course, one big thing we're talking about here, we talk about EV brands and what's happening. And Vancouver tends to be, if any of you have seen my LinkedIn posts, tend to be quite the place for EV manufacturers. We have a Rivian, I don't know what you call it, mine center not far from here. And I've done some spy photos in there and seen some cars running around. Lucid's opened their only Canadian showroom here with their mock-up car there because they don't have a car. This brand that I think Fareed talked about, the Chinese brand Imperium Motors, their CEO is a Vancouver guy, and they're kind of come on pretty strong. But so are the new EV brands, or are these EV-only brands, are they doing well because of their product or their business processes? And if the mainline manufacturers are going to be able to produce a comparable product to them, will they follow the same business style, or do they revert to their old habits? And speaking of old habits, let's go to Larry first.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what that intro was, but that's all right.
What's with that?
You know what it is? Both Johns, they can sense I'm a little shy, so they figure they can push me back. Not a healthy strategy.
That's right.
Please again, excuse me. I'm having so much fun with you guys, bunch of knowledgeable, good guys. I'm a little confused about the whole thing with electric vehicles because from what I understand, the primary polluters are in different countries that we have no control or no way to push. And everybody's got in their head, electric vehicles will save the world. I don't get it, but I will tell you this. The manufacturers, Ford, all the rest of them, they'll jump in. They'll be just fine too. I honestly think that they'll adapt quickly. None of the managers that run these giant companies are as goofy as they were when I got into business. When I got into business, GM's motto was ready, fire, aim. Now let's put 72 cars on the road that look exactly the same. I think Ford's already gotten a leg up. I think they'll all fall in. You've just got a bunch of people that think I'm going to drive an electric car. It's going to cost me $72,000. Electric's going to go up more than gas, but I'm going to save the world. But I honestly think the American manufacturers will catch up quickly, and I think they'll fall right in line.
It's actually a good point because Toyota, as of 2 years ago, was saying, no, we're not doing electric, we're going hydrogen. So now they're introducing an electric car. Mr. Latka, what about your opinion on this?
Well, I mean, the companies that have the EVs, when you talk about the business model and the process, I agree that has a lot to do with their success. Now, don't forget too that governments have given incentives to people to buy electric vehicles, right? So, I mean, if in fact we were all to do that, when I say we, I mean all countries, there would be more EV sales, but we're basically giving money to people to buy these EVs. From my perspective, I don't think that's right. I believe that they should be able to stand on their own 2 feet. If they've got a business to run the business, and don't look for handouts. Now, in terms of the larger manufacturers and the EV model, I mean, they could really set up boutique style spots within their giant showrooms where they can feature EVs and have people that are the product genius and have them talk to the people that are coming in on the EVs if others don't want to.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I have to say some of these electric people are going to be awfully shocked when governments start charging them a road tax because if the EVs take off the way that they're supposed to, who's going to pay for the roads?
Exactly.
Other than government.
Well, there's a Kia store near my house, and it's got an EV only showroom now. It's like a gas showroom and an EV showroom. It's kind of interesting.
Nice, John Kostakos. What's your opinion on this?
I hate them.
So now tell us how you really feel.
Tell us what you really think.
No, I don't really understand. I think it's a bunch of political stuff. So I don't understand it. I drive a hybrid. I'm happy with it, and I like what John said about if there's no incentives, let's see how they really stand up and sell. But it's hey, if they want to buy a car, they can buy that car. They can buy gas hybrid. I just don't like the political stuff that goes on behind the agenda of all this EV stuff. This is my
Agreed.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do have to say I'm in the used, just purely used now, and to try to buy you look at the auction, you see the prices on used Teslas and used anything electric, and it's even crazier than anything used of the mainline stuff, even crazier than pickup trucks. Fareed.
So I'll share some interesting stats with you guys that may help answer this question. On the EV question, we did some research, and here's some interesting stats about market cap. Tesla has over $1 trillion as a market cap. If you look at Rivian and you look at Lucid, both those, and they've only delivered but combined about 242 vehicles now in California, their market cap is greater than Ford itself. Here's another crazy stat. Tesla have committed up until 2030, they've committed a certain amount of money to put into EVs. So they've committed $99 billion. If you add up General Motors' $35 billion commitment, Ford's $30 billion commitment, and Chrysler's $35 billion commitment, if you add that up, the three of them are not as committed as much as one brand, the Tesla. So what the challenges become is, this is rolled down to the public opinion stock markets. So the investment in EV is really going to be all a money game right now. And it's diluting the reason why there was even an EV platform, quite honestly. And to Larry's point, it's become about moving the shells around. And I think there was many more options other than electric to get into saving the world and reducing the carbon effect. But the car business got a perfect aim because people, the consumer understood it and they invested in it. And that's where the money's going for now. Will it stay there? I don't know. But that's where the market caps are going. So it's crazy.
That's very interesting. By the way, I'm going to be promoting a stock in Gossamer Winged Aircraft, so keep an attention out on that. Jason, your opinion on this?
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it from another perspective. I mean, I think if we just keep everything consistent and kind of look at the powers that be pushing EV vehicles into the market, and let's look at it from like a dealership perspective, right? And what are dealers worried about 5 years from now when their entire model lineup is EV, and one of the things that they're worried about is warranty work, right? EVs just don't break down as much as gasoline vehicles. So we hear it from our dealers and our dealer principals that they're concerned about what kind of fixed ops and revenue they'll be able to generate off of EV models. And that's just something I wanted to throw out there.
I do have to say, not far from Ian's house is a Tesla service center.
Yep.
And I walked by there one day, and I think they've got 60 bays in there. So I don't think that the fixed ops is going to be a concern because, like somebody said in one of our shows, they still need brakes, they still need tires, and I'm waiting for them, as I said before, to sell brush flushes on the electric motors. Ian.
Yeah, well, it's funny because they bought another old service bay to do more of that. But the thing that I think is interesting about electric, I happen to be near a Petro-Canada station that put in some electric chargers. And I was walking by there the other day because I do a walking in the morning. It was quite funny. You had one person on the trickle charger because he doesn't want to do it in 30 minutes. He wants to do it in 4 hours. Had another one at the other charger that does it in 30 minutes. And you had a third guy waiting to see when the other guy was going to go so that he could charge it. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, you got cars turning every 5 minutes putting gas in the car. But I'm thinking about it going, if you had 20 more EVs in my neighborhood, these people are going to be lined up like they were in the 70s for fuel to charge their car. And the average charge time with a very fast charging network is 30 minutes. There's one guy who does this almost every day. He shows up in his running gear. He parks the car and charges it and then goes for a run and comes back. And I sat there and I said, it's going to be interesting to see how the gas stations adapt in terms of putting in chargers. But the thing that was really funny to me was the trickle charger is free. So they've got people who they'll charge their car and leave it there all day. That makes no sense.
I'm going to be honest here. I want to buy an electric car so I get free parking really close to anywhere I want to go. That's the only reason I want an electric car.
Well, but think about those parking meters that are now pretty much obsolete with apps. If the city put in charging meters and charge for that, they could probably make some money.
It's coming.
Anyway, we're out of time. Anyone wants my polls? I didn't have a chance to share them. Send me an email on AutoHub Show. And I'm happy to send it to you. It's a bunch of polls for the end of the year. And have a great week. Jeff?
Hefe, please. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live should give us some numbers here. And Ian will be having the recording up very soon so we can do it on the podcasts. And I wish you nothing but great success in 2022. And the investment, Larry, being new here, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
My pleasure.
Reed, Jason, John, thank you. All the best.
Yeah,
Have a great Christmas season.
Have a great,
or whatever you celebrate. Yep.
Thank you. God bless everyone.
God bless you.